I've come to the realization that I don't think I can ever be a true progressive ever. Um, and the reason why that I realize I can never be a true progressive is because the women who are in this space, especially, and those who are in the rainbow community, are never going to acknowledge the part that they play in how they have pushed men away from the space and how they expect, especially straight men, to bend over and kiss their ass in order to be able to exist in their space. I can tell you, me personally, I have done this way too much in my life, and I will never do it ever. I'm done. I'm tired. I'm tired. Like I'm personally am sick of it, and you know, I'm going to get into why I know that I can't ever be in the progressive space because this clip that I'm going to play is going to be I forget the chick's name, but it'll be on the on I'll be sure to play a link, okay? And for those of you who want to listen to it, you can, in order to get more context. But I'm just going to show y'all why, even if we are temporarily um, in agreement, or rather, our issues may align because of what's going on with the Trump administration. After this, the issues are going to continue. And for the women who are listening to me, I can confidently tell you this: shit is only going to get rougher for you, because you refuse to sit here and acknowledge the harm that you yourselves have caused men, and that you yourselves have pushed these very same men to vote for someone that you ultimately don't agree with. But I mean, that's enough, I guess, of a preamble of an introduction. Let's just get into what this woman has to say.
One of the most important things to understand about Trump's support is this. Many of his voters were not the poorest Americans. They were people whose relative status in life declined. And that sense of status loss shows up very clearly in this space when it comes to gender. For generations in the US, masculinity was tied to a very specific role: being the provider. A man was expected to work hard, earn money, and support a family. The role came with social respect, authority in the household, and a clear sense of purpose. You didn't need to be wealthy, you just needed to be dependable. And as long as that role existed, many men felt like they knew where they stood. But over the last few decades, that foundation has weakened. Jobs that once made that provider role possible, manufacturing, mining, industrial labor, declined or have become less stable. And even when men stayed employed, the work often paid less, carried less prestige, or offered less security. Meanwhile, women gained more independence, more education, more economic power. More women delayed marriage and having babies, and were now earning their own money, and were no longer dependent on a male breadwinner to survive. And that progress is real, necessary, and long overdue. But for some men, it disrupted this role that they were told was guaranteed. If your whole identity was built around being needed, and suddenly you're no longer essential in the same way, that can feel like a loss of identity, and not just a change in circumstances. Sociologists sometimes describe this reaction as aggrieved entitlement. The feeling that the role you were promised, respect, authority, and purpose, is being taken from you, even though you follow the rules. This is where Trump's messaging lands. When Trump talks about traditional values, about restoring respect, strength, and order, about men being men again, and getting the country back to how it was, he's speaking directly to that anxiety. He isn't offering job retraining programs or new economic models. He's offering something more emotional: reassurance. Reassurance that you're right to expect respect, that you're right to see this as a loss, that your role still matters, that all of this is so unfair. For many of his supporters, this isn't about policy or what he's actually going to do. It's about their egos.
Okay, y'all heard that. And I'm going to be sure to leave a link in the description leading back to this lady's video if you want to listen to the whole thing. Um, I had to stop when I got to that particular part because I can guarantee you that most conservative men, most, if you were to press them and say, hey, if you would you sit here and say that you expect your daughter to just stay at home and not do anything, not educate herself, not acquire skills and be able to go out into the world and be able to work and provide for herself, and just wait on a man and just be subservient to that man? Is that something that you truly want for your daughter? I can pretty much guarantee you that most of these men would say, no, absolutely not. The vast majority of us know and understand that women have to go, they have to go into life, and try to make something of themselves. They have to, go out and try to do their own thing. They have to try to um, be able to uh, secure means of being able to take care of themselves, to feed themselves, to clothe themselves, to put shelter over their heads, right? And so, they, of course, anyone who cares about their own are not going to want to see their own child, have a set of beliefs that would handicap their own child, um, that would keep their child from being what they could closely be. Now, I'm not sure that women would have that same idea for their own sons, but I think I'm going to get into that in a minute, right? I think I'm going to get into that in a fucking minute. Because a lot of us fathers, a lot of us men have absolutely no fucking problem with the fact that, we need to see our girls be educated and have a means to be able to take care of themselves. But the mothers, on the other hand, it seems that the women are so fucking selfish that they can sit here and listen to other men say that, we tire of having to deal with false allegations and having to deal with two a different set of rules, within um, the family court structure, and that we have to dance around eggshells when we see that we are, with women, in the workplace, right? Women don't care. They can have, they know and fully understand that their sons are going to come into the same bullshit, and they will have to deal with the same bullshit, but they will not care because they only truly see themselves. And that's the whole goddamn fucking problem here, right? It's not just that, but it's the fact that within society, men and women are playing by two entirely different sets of rules. That's the whole fucking problem here. Men and women are playing by two entirely different sets of rules. And the two different sets of rules are rules that mostly benefit women. If women sit there and open their fucking mouth and they say that a man did something to me or he said something that I did not like, 9 times out of 10 that man has to pay a consequence. And they don't care. That's the whole issue here. That's the issue that the vast majority of us men can't stand, that we have to deal with. It is not the fact that women made all these advances and that they can take care of themselves. It is the fact that in order for you to feel comfortable, you feel that men have to handicap ourselves. That's the reason why they have this whole issue about DEI and seeing that women and saw women were getting ahead. It wasn't the fact that women were working. It was the fact that we are beginning to see that we are playing by two entirely different sets of rules. That's the fucking problem. And the thing about it is that she herself knows this. And that's the reason why the entire time that she was saying this shit, she had a fucking smirk on her face. And I forget what country that she lives in. She lives in a completely different country, right? But I can guarantee you this: she can't come into America saying that shit because she knows the truth. As a matter of fact, there's been issues across the world, across many first world countries where marriages have been on the decline. Why? Because men in general, they're the ones who have been walking away, unless they will bringing their wives from another country, right? And the women who were living in that particular country did not like it. I believe it was either Greenland or Iceland where they began seeing that these men were bringing in women from the Philippines, from what's the Thailand. They were bringing in these women, and these local women, they didn't particularly like it. Why were these women penis policing? Because they knew that they would not be able to receive the benefits of being in a relationship in the society that they lived in. So they had a fucking problem. They know and fucking understand the things that they do. They just don't want to acknowledge it. That's the reason why you see women have an issue with passport bros. That's the reason why you see women have issues with men saying that they're going to go out of the country in order to look for somebody. They would not be pressed if women knew in the countries that they lived in were such a great fucking catch. But they know that they're not. They're becoming insufferable. They're becoming insufferable. And that is also the reason why, especially when you see here in the United States, for a lot of us men, we start to see no problem seeing violence actually being enacted against women. Because women have absolutely no problem using third party violence against us via the law. Even black women, right? The most unwanted, the most unloved, the most unprotected. They may have an issue with the police, but dealing with the man, they'll call the police in a hot minute because they know that the police would take their word over his. Men and women are playing by two entirely different sets of rules. And that's the issue that a lot of us have. And I'm going to follow it up, but I've come to the realization. I was watching a live the other day of a woman that I actually supported, that I actually stood up for. Right. Because there was this bigger woman, this obese woman, who was doing cosplays. And y'all know, obese women, at times, they end up getting hate because you see them just, wanting to live their lives and, dress up as their favorite characters that they see in anime. And I stood up for her because the one thing that I believe in is allowing people to do what the fuck that they want. And that you should not allow, and that you should not, just shit all over another person's good time. But when I listened to that live, and I began realizing the disdain, the undue disdain that this woman had towards other men, but then I also saw that the only straight man that was in there was subservient, and the rest of those men were just outright gay and homosexual. And that they were sitting there talking about how straight men need to change, and that they need to start seeing trans women as just regular women, and they need to be treated the same and have like the same privileges as a cis woman. Which prompts a whole nother discussion in and of itself about the privileges that women have in our society to begin with. That's when I knew, I'm like, you people are not fucking honest. I'm telling y'all right now, I really am done kissing ass. And I'm not going to be part of a group where I have to bend over to kiss another person's ass where you're not signing my goddamn fucking paycheck and helping me to pay my fucking bills in order to get along with you. I refuse to do it. You can kiss my whole ashy, unwashed ass. It's women like this bitch. It is groups like it is women. It is the groups like the ones that this bitch belongs in. Is the reason why Donald Trump got elected. You know that it was a fucking problem when a little over 20% of black men voted for the man. Y'all don't realize how much of an issue that is. Something happened. And I said a long time ago that this sort of thing was going to happen because of the issues that more and more black men were starting to experience with black women. At the time when I sat there and said that on my TikTok channel, and I'm going to bring that up. I'm going to try to download that and play that on this channel in order to show where I said that. And I predicted that that was going to happen. Right, more or less. All the hate that I received because I stood up and told the fucking truth. I really do want you so-called fucking progressives and leftists to know and understand that the reason why Donald Trump got elected was because of you fucking people and how dishonest you were and how you pushed the very people that could have supported your causes against you. And I'm going to play so many examples of how you sat there and done that. Especially the men that you have turned against your very own fucking cause. I'm done with it. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. Fuck being a progressive. Fuck being a so-called leftist. If you can't truly be considerate about everybody and not acknowledge the harm that you yourself have caused, then buddy, I don't want to be a part of it. Fuck all of you. I mean that from the bottom of my goddamn heart. Fuck all of you. Fuck all of you. I mean it. If you come to have harm brought to you because of it, that is your fucking problem. That is your fucking problem. I've had it. I've had it. I have truly had it. I, I'm done. I can't anymore. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm done.